I have purchased both houses and flats. There is always lots of discussion about whether it's more prudent to invest in a house. In this video, I want to talk about which is a better investment, a house or a flat. I wanted to go over the advantages and disadvantages, so let's get into this video. Houses are usually freehold, so that means that you own the land on which your house is built, including the house itself, and as a result, you don't have any service charge or ground rents, unlike flats. You have more control of the works, and more importantly, the timing of those works. Houses tend to appreciate more in value than flats do. There is also potentially more scope with houses. For example, you could further enhance the value of a house by converting the garage into a usable room, adding a basement, converting the loft, adding a rear extension, either single or double story. If you purchased a semi-detached house, you could add another house. Houses tend to be more desirable from families, and so it could be argued that they tend to stay for longer. More desirable in the current market. Due to COVID, property prices have been on fire. People have been looking for houses with more space inside and outside. This did reduce the desirability of apartments in city centres, but the trend is changing back as the pandemic eases. Houses are more expensive to buy when compared to flats in the immediate area, and therefore the amount of money you need is a lot more in terms of the deposit, the stamp duty, and refurbishment costs. Their maintenance costs are higher as you are now responsible for the roof, the external windows and doors, the gardens, and the structure of the building itself. The demand for flats is higher in city centres given the lack of houses. The yield tends to be higher due to the lower purchase price. There is less maintenance given that you are not directly responsible for the communal areas and for things like the roof. The disadvantages. You usually have to pay a service charge. Flats are usually purchased by buy-to-let investors looking to let out to young couples, students, graduates, and starter families. Tenancies, therefore, tend to be shorter when compared with houses. Major works. If the block requires a new roof, windows, or doors, these costs are passed on to each leaseholder through a major works notification. Some people don't like this as they feel that they are not in control in terms of who does the work and the associated costs. Lease extension costs. If your lease falls below 80 years, then you will have to get it extended, which can cost thousands of pounds. On the face of it, it can seem that houses are better investments, however, there are exceptions. For example, in London, houses are very expensive, so the majority of investors buy apartments, and therefore it makes sense to buy apartments. Using the B4R model we have managed to buy nearly 3 times the number of apartments compared with buying apartments in central London using the traditional model. Even with the apartments we buy, we have a strict criteria in place so that where we will buy will always be in demand and likely to stay that way. For example, we usually buy 10 to 15 minutes walk from an underground station. We purchase ex-council or private blocks with reasonable ground rents and service charges. For example, we once looked at a flat in Little Venice. It was a lovely flat. However, the only issue was service charge was very expensive. It was £4,000 per annum. So flats can be very good investments. You just need to check the ground rent and service charge, and also have a look at what else is happening within the immediate area in terms of developments. Whether or not you choose to invest in houses or flats will depend on your long-term investment objectives, your investment strategy, where your investment strategy works. I have purchased both houses and flats, and I'm in the process of converting houses into flats. I've invested in the Midlands and Central London, so you can see both sides of the story. Whether you choose to buy a house or a flat in London or in Birmingham, just make sure you add significant amounts of value to minimize your money left in, and make sure you buy based on your investment objectives.